It's time for Recipe of the Day. It is Taco Tuesday, and this week I have something that'll really change up that taco game. It is taco stuffed summer squash. I'll just say right off the bat that you can use zucchini instead of yellow summer squash for this recipe, whatever looks best at the grocery store. And I like this one because really my grocery store always has nice yellow summer squash and nice zucchini. Even when other vegetables are not looking like they're in their prime, these guys are usually pretty nice. And so they're just a great thing to find ways to work into our repertoire. You know what I mean? So this one is you're hollowing it out and kind of like stuffed peppers, except that it's stuffed summer squash. You can picture it, right? They're cut in half and then hollowed out a little bit. You use some of that hollowed out bit in the filling recipe. It's got beef and beans and cheese and tortilla chips that all goes in there and bakes together. Really easy, really fun, and really colorful and tasty and healthy too, right? Okay, how do you make taco stuffed summer squash? You're going to preheat the oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit. Then, like I said, you're having those squash lengthwise. And you know what? I'll just talk about the size. You want medium-sized yellow squash or zucchini. And I joke about this all the time. I mean medium for the grocery store, not medium for your backyard garden. I know it's unlikely this time of year that you have any growing in your garden, but if you happen to be listening to this at a different time of year, I don't mean some big honking large squash. I mean kind of 6 or 7 inches long, with a 2-inch diameter at the widest point. And so you have 3 of those medium-sized squash, and you are having them lengthwise to make 6 long boats out of the squash. And then use a tablespoon or teaspoon to scoop out the inner flesh, leaving a 1/4-inch wall all the way around so that it's sturdy enough to support itself, right? Now, that squash that you have scooped out, we're going to use half of that. So take half of it and give that a rough chop. The other half you could use in something else. You can use it in homemade veggie burgers. I'll link to a great recipe where they would work in there. You can add it to a soup or, toss it. It's not the best because it doesn't have the skin side. It's kind of extra soft, but whatever you're going to do with it, you're not using it here. Only half of it is going here. Then set a large skillet over medium-high heat and add a pound of lean ground beef. You could use ground turkey here. That would work as well. And you are cooking that, stirring occasionally until it's browned and cooked through. It'll be 5 to 7 minutes. Then you're going to sprinkle that beef with some taco seasoning, 2 tablespoons of homemade taco seasoning, or if you have a container of it, or 1 ounce packet. That is equivalent. And you're also adding in some salt. Now the recipe says a teaspoon of salt. If that sounds like a lot to you, you can wait and not add it till later. But we're making quite a bit of filling once all the vegetables and beans and everything are in here. And we haven't seasoned the squash at all. So we need to have most of the flavor coming from this filling. See what I mean? You're also going to add a small onion chopped up at this point, and you're going to add in that retained squash, the half that you rough chopped. And then you're going to cook that until the onion is softened and that squash is softened, about 3 to 4 minutes, stirring occasionally. Then stir in a half cup of salsa. You can use whatever salsa you like. It could be hot or it could be mild. And you're also stirring in some black beans. That'll be a 14-ounce can that you drain and rinse first, and then add that in. You're also going to crush 12 tortilla chips over the top of that. That is just going to soak up some of the extra liquid that's coming out of the mixture as it's cooking in the squash, and it adds that little bit of corn tortilla, tamale, enchilada kind of flavor, Okay, stir that all together, and then you are scooping that meat mixture into the hollowed out squash halves. Now, you might have a bit more of the meat filling than you need to fill those 6 squash boats. I tried to make it work just right, but because different squashes are different sizes, it might not quite work out. If you have any extra, you can just have that on some rice next to it, or save it for another day, throw it into a soup, keep it as leftovers, and just put it in a burrito or something like that. It's going to work well in anything. I think you're going to be able to fit it all in, though. I was able to. And then you're going to sprinkle each of those little boats with 2 tablespoons of shredded cheese. That could be a Mexican blend, cheddar, whatever you've got, whatever you like. And that is going into your preheated oven, 375 degrees Fahrenheit, until the cheese is melted and the squash is softened, which is going to be about 25 25 to 30 minutes. You can crush some more tortilla chips on top if you'd like, some green onion, chives, avocado, tomatoes, anything like that, or serve them as is. I will put the link to this recipe in the show notes for this podcast episode, or you can head to cookthestory.com/ROTD and get it there, or find it in our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/recipeotd. And hey, just a quick note. I'm on a recording hiatus right now, so for the next little while, I'm replaying episodes from the archives, including this one. If you heard me mention a holiday, a season, or something going on in my life that seemed a bit off, that's why. Thanks so much for listening, and I hope you're enjoying these older episodes. I am Christine Pittman from cookthestory.com, thecookful.com, cookfor2.us, and from this podcast, Recipe of the Day. I hope you have a great day. Let's get cooking.